Continue Kirtan for some time. Hare Krishna. Oh. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Audible? Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. All right. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we were speaking about Lord Nityananda. Lord Nityananda is non-different from Lord Chaitanya. Just as Krishna and Balaram are the same Supreme Lord, they are non-different from each other. एक ही स्वरूप है, न है काय. They are the same Swarupa. Their kaya, their form, specifically their bodily color is different. So why do they take up these two forms or different forms? Krishna Leela is Sahai. So that there is more interactions in Krishna Leela. Bhinna Matra Kaya. That's how it is. So, and Lord Balaram are the same personality of Godhead. Similarly, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda are the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. What does that mean? It means that we should not make any distinction between the two of them. At the same time, whenever we are hearing about the pastimes of the Lord, or whenever we are very much engrossed in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, we should understand the distinction between them. Does that make sense? Does that happen in regular life also? Is it relatable? Any examples? Let me give you an example. Maybe you have experienced it. Maybe I'll give you a couple of examples. I was inspired, especially here in ISKCON Silicon Valley, when I see the greenhouse in every house. So Tulasi, we worship her. And one very important relationship that we have with her is that we take the Tulasi leaves and put it in the bhoga offering. Is that correct? True or not true? Sometimes we may, depending upon, maybe there is some time crunch or whatever, we may actually collect a few leaves and keep it stored. Is that true? You've done that? Okay. You're about to make an offering. So you open your box of tulasi leaves. And suddenly you're inspired, like, all right, let me go and pluck some fresh leaves. Has that happened? Now, the fresh leaves and the leaves that are there in that box, plucked previously, are they the same or different? Is there any difference in the potency? Tulasi, we offer it in the bhoga, Lord Krishna accepts. We offer her in the bhoga offerings, Lord Krishna accepts, correct? But still, sometimes we feel fresh tulasi. So now we are making distinction. You understand the point? So when we are understanding the pastimes of the Lord and we are getting engrossed in it, that is when we notice the distinction or we understand the distinction. Otherwise, they are the same personality of Godhead. Okay? So Lord Chaitanya had instructed Nityananda Prabhu to come to Bengal and spread the awareness of the glories of the chanting of the holy names. So he was doing that. Some miscreants, they felt that they had an opportunity to steal from Sri Nityananda Prabhu. And we have been trying to discuss that since the past 2 sessions. So if you have not attended those sessions, doesn't really matter. Because every session has its own unique taste. And this is the nature of the Lord and the Lord's activities. It is transcendental. What it means is that it is not bound by time, space. It is not constrained by time and space. So even if you do not complete an entire pastime, whatever you have finished reading or understanding, after spending some time, let's say you spend a couple of hours, and the pastime is not completed as given to us by Vyasadeva, as given to us by Srila Prabhupada, the authors. Whatever you have understood and whatever you have read is complete in itself. Sometimes we feel that as a regulation, we should try and complete the whole thing as a regulation. So that's all right. However, if it is not your regulation and you're not able to complete the entire chapter, the pastime that is there, it is still complete, and one should not feel any lacking. Still complete. Like, let's say we've heard that in Dwarka, Mother Rohini is describing the pastimes of Krishna. There is one description like that. So the queens of Dwarka, they are sitting around her and listening to Krishna's pastimes, childhood pastimes. Krishna and Balaram, they feel, they kind of understand that this is happening within our palace. So they want to come and also participate in it. So when they come there, do you think they said, please can you start from again before? So I think I've made my point. Yeah? It's complete. However, if it is your regulation, then you should follow your regulation. If it is a regulation that you need to complete the entire chapter, however long or short it is, please follow your regulation, because that is a commitment that you have taken unto yourself. So 2 attempts have been made to steal from Nityananda Prabhu. 2 consecutive evenings, 2 consecutive nights. And these are the thieves that were there. They were actually dacoits. So the dacoits, the dacoit leader and his gang of dacoits, they are they have lived a full life in the material world. I mean, they are well experienced people. So it's not easy to surprise someone who has lived a long life or who has had a lot of experiences in life. Is it? Some of you, if you have elders in your family and you're trying to explain to them how important Krishna consciousness is, you face those roadblocks. Like, they are always nodding, this is good, but what about the next step? Yeah? So it's not easy to surprise people who have lived a full life, who have lived through a lot of experiences in life, because they've seen a lot. They are intelligent people. They've understood so many ways. They have understood so many perspectives. So the thieves were not like, they were not beginners. They are well established as a dacoit gang. Like, they had a lot of fan following. They were like celebrities. I'm trying to explain it in today's context, but actually they were well known. They were very ferocious. Yeah. However, the events of those 2 nights completely flustered them. They did not know how they should try and relate to it. For the first time in their lives and in their profession, they were really confused. They were having self-doubts. For the first time in their profession, they were actually not able to trust each other. Because everyone's understanding and opinion was a little different. Does it happen in the material world? It happens, right? What is it? Blood brothers through life and death, of blood sisters or something like that. And suddenly they are in a situation where each one acts according to how they understand it, and you're like, you did not care for me, you did not care for me, and I trusted you so much, Finished. They immediately go to the separation proceedings. I'm not just speaking about the family structure. I'm speaking about any unit, friends or professionals, people who have been in partnership, in business partnerships for so many decades, and suddenly they come up, and they've been good at it. And when a particular business deal is so confusing, very confusing, like all of the experience that they've had fails fails to help them understand how did this happen, why is it so confusing, then they have clashes. So the leader could see that they were having clashes. Very smart leader, taking or under the pretext of that the previous night they had the experience of this very well built guards protecting the perimeter of Lord Nityananda's house. So he's like, I think these guards are going to stay for some time. Let us take a break of 10 days. Vacation time. Just go to some, sauna place, relax, go to the beach, play pool, whatever. Take a break. Don't think about this. When we come back after 10 days, I'll have a plan. All right? So they took a break, and therefore in Chaitanya Bhagavat, those 10 days are not described. Basically, we have to understand that the author felt that the break is not worth describing. The author just says that Nityanand Prabhu happily spent his time there with Hiranya Pandit. That is it. So what is the happy time that they spent together? Hiranya Pandit is renounced, practically does not have any grains in his house. Fun time. One is an avadut, the other is a renunciate. So what is the fun they have? Chant Hare Krishna. And whenever they are a little hungry, they go out begging a little. Or people who already know Hiranya Pandit, village life, when you know that someone is very saintly and renounced, then they want to come and share. Somebody would drop by some food for them, some prasad. Nice life, at least on paper, isn't it? Whenever we hear descriptions of a lifestyle that is very simple, it seems attractive, very difficult to practice. So that is how they spend their time, 10 days. After 10 days, the gang comes together. Yesterday, we ended with this wonderful verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Kathanchan smrite yasmin dushkaram sukaram bhavet vismrite viparitam syat Shri Chaitanyam namamitam. The essence of this verse is that simply by the remembrance of the Lord, life becomes easy, and the most difficult of challenges also seemingly just pan out. Forgetfulness of the Lord makes it difficult even to tackle simple activities of life. Yeah. Let's say, again, we'll come back to an example from everyday life. Tulsi leaves, offerings to the Lord. It's very routine. Everyone has experienced it. Routine work. Is it routine work? Routine work. Let's suppose one day you're making an offering to the Lord. You have prepared the plate and you opened the box of Tulsi leaves and you've forgotten the Lord. Your mind is on your coding because that is what you are doing. You took a break you had to do the offering. Somebody told you, that voice from the sky that comes from the other room. Please do the offering. That voice, the Akashvani. So you're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, lunch break or whatever, you go, the plate is ready. Okay, you have to open the box, tulsi leaf. You've forgotten the Lord. Has it happened that sometimes you remember that the tulsi leaf is not put in the plate after you've put it on the altar? You're like, you're doing your offering prayers, whatever offering prayers you remember, like A, Z, B, D, E, F, G, H. You're doing those prayers, and halfway through the prayers, oh, Tulasi, where is she? Is there anyone who's never been through that experience? So you see, the simplest of acts has become difficult. You're like, oh, wait, cannot offer, I have to run back. Go to the kitchen, get the box immediately. Oh, is it washed? Not washed. Ashman, not Ashman. And practically your heart rate has increased now. The simplest of tasks becomes difficult. So the verse is actually true, isn't it? Very true. Similarly, here, Vrindavan Das Thakur says that great personalities like Lord Ganesh, who removes or who benedicts people by removing their obstacles, they are constantly remembering the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. Constantly remembering that. Yes. Oh, he had a lot of jewelry on him. Silk. A lot of silk. Turbans of various different cloths of silk. Gold. Maybe after the class, we can have a chat again when I describe how he got all of that. Because I said he's an avadut, so he did not really have any inheritance. And he never earned. He did not have a salary ever, so. And he never stole. He doesn't steal. But he still had all of that. Anyway, so that is what they were trying to do. Oh, so Lord Nityananda, by the mercy of Lord Nityananda, life becomes simple. All fear, any kinds of fear that we have, would be dispelled if we understand how merciful Lord Nityananda is. This Lord Nityananda, for these 10 days, he was walking the streets of Navadvip. He was dancing, he was chanting, doing kirtan. He would stay in the house of Hiranya Pandit. His body is still decorated with all of those precious gems and jewels. He would be always smiling. His eyes would always be rolling because he was completely intoxicated in love of Krishna. And his devotees would be so happy spending time with him. However, every evening he would go back to take rest at Hiranya Pandit's house, and it was just him and Hiranya Pandit. Can you imagine the extent the Lord goes to try and save one soul? I mean, he's the Lord of the universe. Or maybe he's very possessive. This possessiveness of Lord Nityananda is very much acceptable, isn't it? So that night, when the dacoits come together, the dacoit king says that we have worshipped Chandi nicely, we have taken good rest, our minds are completely uncluttered and focused on the job. Let's go. So the entire gang, they dress up. They have they have a special dress made for this occasion now. Dark blue that would merge. Like the army has army fatigues, the dacoits have dacoit fatigues. Yeah. Dark blue fatigues. The night was ripe for their pluckings because it was an overcast night, no luminaries. So they were feeling that Chandi is pleased. Goddess Chandi is assisting us. What was happening was, which they couldn't realize immediately, but Vrindavan Das Thakur tells us, is that the sky became overcast with black, billowing, thunderous clouds, dark and ominous. And the entire sky, the firmament, earth, everything was plunged into darkness. It was as if the Lord was manifesting his impersonal form. Everything seemed one. So the dacoit fatigues, and they had the dacoit night vision goggles. Trained people, right? I told you, they had lived a full life. Sometimes I think dacoits of those days did not have good technology. Whatever they knew, they used it to the best. They knew how to trace out people in the dark. They knew where exactly they have to look in your house or in the bank for the wealth that would give them the maximum returns. They had, otherwise, why would they be dacoits? They were good at the job, right? So the sky was overcast. It was as if there were bad omens. However, they thought that this is helpful. And up till now, it seemed that it was helpful on both sides. We know that it could be helpful because it is thunderous clouds. The streets were deserted. The dacoits held their weapons close to themselves. However, they had a shiver go up their spines because they had never experienced a night like this ever. Sometimes we are in your, what holy places have you been to? Vrindavan? How many people have been to Vrindavan? Oh, practically almost everyone. You've not been to Vrindavan? Any place, holy place you've been to? No? The temple here? Okay. How many of you have tried this out? Like, let us feel the mood of Vrindavan in the darkness. Not in the darkness, but in the night light. Have you tried to do that? Sometimes. In the darkness, early morning parikrama. It's not as yet light. Have you experienced that? You haven't. Have you experienced that in your hometown growing up? Dark night. Electricity goes away. No electricity. You're not even sure if there are people around you. Like, is there someone? Koi hai, koi hai. Where are you? You call out for your friends. That kind of experience. Have you ever had a shiver go up your spine? Why? Because it is a different kind of night where there are no lights. So they were feeling a little uncomfortable. And because there was discomfort, they were feeling a little gloomy. As they came closer to the house, every single one of them was struck by blindness. Vision gone. Their goggles were useless because their eyes were useless now. And they have no idea how that happened. Has it ever happened to you? Ever? Especially after Nirjala Ekadashi? Towards the end? When you're practically falling unconscious? If you haven't, try out Nirjala Ekadashi. Because this comes practically on the hottest day of the year in the northern hemisphere. It's coming up. And if you want to make it a very, very relishable experience, come to Vrindavan for Nirjala Ekadashi. Hot, dry, your throat practically is parched, your body is on fire, provided you're in Vrindavan and not in your AC room in the hotel. You practically, you sit down for chanting, and when you stand up, it's dark all around. The BP just shoots down, and your eyes constrict. You're like, what happened? Give me a moment. Then you want the blood circulation to come back. So the BP immediately shoots up. Blood flows. Then you start seeing again. So at that moment, you feel very, very uncomfortable. Because all that you know, all that you understand, your existence itself, it seems it's all lost. Remember that momentary experience when there's darkness. You feel cold. You feel your heart has stopped. It's a reaction, the body's reaction. The nervous system is making that happen. The body is going into the stealth mode. It's trying to protect itself. So shut down all over except the most important organs. What a wonderful creation, no? The Lord's creation. The human body and its responses. So that is what happened to them, blindness. And when that happens and you're out in the open, most commonly you get separated from the others. Because you realize you're on your own. And when people are on their own, when they realize they are on their own in unknown territory, they panic. So panic set in. They stumbled forward, trying to grope in the darkness. Adults with weapons, dacoits, trained professionals. As soon as they're struck with blindness, they tried to hold their weapons with its straps against the body, and they went on all fours, groping, because in the wild, the closest thing that can give you any indication of what is where is the earth. Isn't it true? That is what you do. You immediately sit down, feel. Is this safe? Can I go ahead or not? And after that, when you're a little confident, then you stand up and use your feet now to do the same thing. The first instinct is down. So they were doing that. They were almost on their fours. And this is in the wild, this is in the, outside, the undergrowth. They were being struck by twigs. They were hitting rocks. They were struck with fear because all of a sudden they are blind. Their intellect was paralyzed. They were practically unable to function. And suddenly they realize in their panic mode, they have to take care of themselves. So some of them, they ran. And because they did not know which direction they were running in, they landed into a moat. You know what is a moat? Many times, typically in the villages, there is a little moat around the house. Sometimes it is called as a nala. It takes away the wastewater. Sometimes it is only on one side of the house, sometimes it is all around the house. This is also created by the dripping, the drops dropping from the roof during rains. And to protect yourself from creepy crawlies, also, you sometimes people create a deeper moat, a deeper nala, because the creepy crawlies go in and then they don't want to climb out, so they stay there. And they may even fill it with water so that they do not go across. Protection, people protect themselves like that. Generally, forts have that, moats, but houses also can have. So, some of them, they fell into that moat. Now, typically, wherever there is this nala like thing, nala, there's a collection of mulch at the bottom. And wherever there is mulch, what do you have? Not as yet. Snakes don't like mulch so much. Insects. Lots of insects. Leeches. Mosquitoes. Everything that can make your life miserable. So they fall into that. They are blind. They have no idea what they have fallen into. They try to grope around. They are not able to climb out. They simply accept their misery, being bitten by leeches, mosquitoes, dark ants, other crawlies that are not happy that they've been woken up in the night. Miserable. They have all these boils from the bites. There's nothing else they can do. They cannot run off. They are blind. A few of the dacoits, they lose their way and they fall into the open dirt pile, the garbage pile. Villages, do you know where the trash is? Somewhere in one corner outside the house. And now in that trash, what is there? Snakes, scorpions, because it's damp. Anything, all the creepy crawlies that like damp space. So insects, scorpions, some snakes, they started stinging them, and it was very vicious, the sting. Because they've fallen into it, they couldn't come out of it. Have you been blindfolded and pushed into a ditch ever? Have you been blindfolded and pushed into a clump of blankets? No? Y'all never had fun as growing up? What did you have? Friends on the laptop or what? The iPad? We had friends, we would play in India, play cricket. So cricket was basically road cricket. It wasn't a road, it was basically an alley. Our times, we would have hedges on both sides of that road that led to the house. Hedges, garden hedges. So all of a sudden, 4-5 of us would gang up on someone, or 4-5 of them would gang up on me and boom, into the hedge. You've never had that kind of fun? So when you fall into a hedge like that and you want to climb out, where would you get traction? So the more you try to get out, the more you fall into the hedge. Right? And because these are hedges that have been, even if they are not maintained, the leaves, the twigs, they all scratch you. But it's fun. The point that we are making is, when you fall into a garbage pile, the more you try to get out, the more you go into it. And the more you go into it, those who are the residents